rehearsal process was extraordinary. It's so heartening and encouraging and inspiring to see a group of international singers from all over the world, from America, from Peru, for example, coming together to create this piece and to realize it. The rehearsals were in a very intimate space in a wonderful building in Lewisham, and it was great to almost get into that kind of laboratory conditions where we could really drill down into the extraordinary vocal writing that Mercadante brings to this opera.
This is a great cast. It needs particular singers to do an operation like this one, because it's not just a question to come here, sing something that they have learned or that they know, but it's a question for them to put something new in their body, in their vocal cords, and to have the patience, the flexibility and the will to rehearse some time to do something, and then after 2 days change, try to do something different. And they are all really, apart from very nice people and incredibly good artists, but they are all willing to do this. So I think that the spirit with the cast is very good.
Irene is a truly remarkable artist. She brings a really warm and vibrant and genuine interpretation to the role of Malvina. This is quite a vulnerable character, for me at least, in the piece. This character who is torn between her love for two very different men. And of course, tragically, as we know, that results in her death at the end of the opera. So she needs to have this kind of fragility and this sensitivity, and she brings that in a very kind of real and emotionally genuine way.
I believe Malvina is stuck in a way. She has been living in an environment where she didn't always get to make her own choices in who she married, or any next significant choice or decision was made for her. And as a colleague pointed out, the only decision she made for herself was to take her own, wait, is this a secret? to take her own life at the end of the opera. Spoiler alert. In the beginning, I thought, well, this young woman isn't really compelling yet. She is reacting to a series of tragic events, and she is reaching for the support of her brother. And it isn't until the end where I think she freely expresses her love, her true love, and with complete conviction expresses her decision to take her own life. And it's interesting to me that she doesn't, in the whole span of the opera, we don't see her making these strong decisions until the very end.
Elizabeth, again, is, for me at least, a remarkable discovery as an artist. She is one of these rare vocal artists who is a genuine contralto, and hearing the depth of her lower register is quite extraordinary. It's very, very inspiring. And that's to say nothing of the artistry that she brings to the role of Eduardo. There's a point in the opera when there is a duet between Eduardo, Elizabeth, and her sister Malvina, and it's quite extraordinary. Incredible vocal fluidity. It's wonderful to hear these two artists working together in this way.
The first word that comes to mind when I think of Eduardo is loyalty. I think he's a tremendously loyal brother, loyal family member, loyal soldier in the sense. He wants to do the best by everyone, and he wants to show that he cares and that he will fight for what he believes is right and fight for what he believes, in this case, his sister thinks is right, and will fight for her heart. So he's a likable guy, and he has honor.
One of the extraordinary things about Il Proscritto is that there is a role for not just one tenor, which is what you would normally expect in an opera of this time, but it actually has two tenors. And what's really interesting for me is that actually we've cast two artists at completely different ends of the spectrum in terms of their career. We have Ivan, who's right at the beginning, but alongside him we have Ramon Vargas, who's incredibly established and has had a very long and illustrious career. And what's fascinating for me is to see how those two different experiences, one very young and one with real depth of experience, actually spark off each other.
Giorgio is very complicated, the role, because he's ambiguous. He's preoccupied more about what the wife could be in love with the other guy as really the love that he feels for her. I think in the end is controversial for him. He's suffering a lot for that. It was part of the culture in that way. That means very interesting role in that way. Because he is in love, or he thinks that the wife is waiting of him, and this music express a lot what really he is. I think he was a human being with mistakes, as we all have. We have mistakes and virtues.
Ivan again is a real discovery. This is a terrific talent, and it's such a honour for us at Opera Rara to be working with him on his first recording at the very start of his career. It's an extraordinary voice, and this is a performer who's going to be absolutely at the top level of his profession. So it's thrilling that Opera Rara have been able to capture his extraordinary vocal quality, as I say, right at the beginning of his career.
Arturo, we can see with this eyes this role in the first part, but he have a very big heart because he accepted the love between Malvina and Giorgio. La vita, la vita è un bene, sì, la vita è un bene per
The only surprise that up to now are good surprises, because I really think this opera, the music is very interesting, is very good. There's been a few notes wrong in the parts, but that, you just do it once and then you put it right. I've been a few times back and forward with the files of the manuscript, just to check exactly what Mercadante wanted in these particular places that I was not sure about. But no, the surprises are good.
I feel incredibly lucky. I also feel like I have a tremendous responsibility to do absolutely the best I possibly can in digging into the text and the style of singing the text, which is much different than singing German or French. There's just a much different way of singing in Italian in the bel canto style. Because we're doing a recording, the focus is 100% on that.
Well, I do tend to prepare my roles myself. First, I acquaint myself with the words, the text, because I feel like everything is in service to the text. So you want to make sure the ornaments you add, the dynamics you're using, certainly the score gives you dynamics, but the colors you want to infuse those dynamics with, it's important to really ground yourself there first, in my opinion. And then I sit down at the piano and I acquaint myself with what the orchestra will be playing, what I'm singing on top of. It's sort of a ground up. And then I know where my voice fits into that and what story I'm meant to tell. And it informs then the best way to do that, hopefully. And writing ornamentation is always fun. It's one of the reasons I so enjoy singing, say, Rossini, Bellini, and now Mercadante. It's just a lot of fun putting it together, and sitting down at the piano is sacred time for me. I just really have a lot of fun doing it.
The records in a studio are very complicated. The people think that maybe it's easiest, but I don't think it's easiest, not to me. Because when you are in a concert or when you are in the performance, you can express better your ideas, your emotions through the theatrical way that we can say it in that way.
The duet with Odoardo, this mezzo duet. This is an incredibly rare treat for me as a mezzo to sing a duet with another mezzo.
It is a unique experience to sing a duet with another mezzo, and it was, I guess I could just say, easy. Mezzos are so trained to support, to be the character that makes it easier usually for the other high voice, whether that's a tenor or soprano. So you're used to listening, you're used to kind of being the one that adjusts. And in this case, we both came ready to listen. And so we sat down in our first moment of singing this somewhat difficult to pace cadenza together. It just fit. We from the first moment, we knew exactly where we were headed. So it was just easy.
And in our first rehearsal, Elizabeth and I just listened to each other equally, and it was just so pleasing and so enjoyable and so fulfilling to have this moment, because it's so rare in this style, especially.
My favorite is the duet with Odo tenor. Actually, I follow Ramon Vargas. I started to follow him when I was 19 years old, when I started to study opera, and sing with him. It's a very important experience. In the past I can't imagine this moment.
To be the first person to conduct something for a modern audience is at the same time obviously exciting and a little bit daunting. But the excitement overtake the daunting part by far. But obviously for me, this is the way that I am. I always try to be with my feet on the ground, to really try to be an honest judge of what I have in front of me on the score. But so far I'm really very excited about what we have recorded and done. Up to now, the favorite moment I actually cannot say, because you see, for example, I could say, the duet between the two ladies is wonderful, between Malvina and Odoardo, but also the two small arias that are the one at the beginning of Arturo, and then at the end of the first act, the aria of Giorgio, are really the moments that really got me interested in this opera when I was just looking out at the autograph. But for example, today we have just done the finale of the first act, where there is a beautiful concertato. So also this big moment with all the forces, and of course something that really was very exciting was something that we did yesterday. It was the beginning of the opera with the band, the chorus, the orchestra, everybody there. Well, let me tell you, the opera opens with a party. It's Marius, it's a party. Well, they did a heck of a party back at the time of Mercadante.
So we're now in day 3 of recording. That's day 3 out of 6. So we're about halfway through. Very exciting point today because we're doing the Act 1 finale. One of the remarkable things about Il Proscritto is the quality and the imagination that Mercadante brought to his finales. So this is absolutely the full forces of the opera. So we have 48 chorus, 8 soloists, the full orchestral forces, and it's tremendously exciting to be committing this to disc for the first time.
For me, this is a really new situation because although I have done in my earlier years some operas that had never been performed in modern time, this is the first time that we actually make a recording of this. And in the recording studio, there is always the added pressure that we have to record and be precise. But obviously, it's the first time for everybody, included me. That means that very often I want to hear what is coming out in the microphones, because what we hear in the recording studio is not the same thing that we hear in the microphones. So it's work in progress, but also work in progress sometimes have a slightly negative meaning, and it's not negative at all. It's actually very exciting for everybody. Orchestra, chorus, they're really into this. Obviously the principal, the soloist, and I think we are really presenting something that is will turn out very nice.
It's my first professional recording. It's an important moment for me, for my career.
It's also very exciting. I have never done a studio recording of an opera. I have been on stage where live performances were recorded, or I have recorded songs, but always in a live performance. So while I feel there will be a different kind of pressure on my performance, I am thrilled to have the opportunity to focus 100% on the singing and the expression. Oftentimes I'm running around on stage or dealing with massive costumes, or somebody slips on my dress, and we have, there are all kinds of factors that go into a live performance that distract, sometimes add to the singing, but often distract. So I'm really excited to have this moment where we can really focus on the beauty of the sound and the clarity of the singing and the breath, and just focus 100% on that, because it's a rare treat.
And it could be, and you are too preoccupied to do perfect, that everything, the pitch, the bow, the tempi, and that. And the danger is to lose this emotionality, this flexibility that needs the music. And it's the reason because we are rehearsal really very nice, in order that when we do the record, we should be relatively easy to put our emotions. I think that we are singing because, or I sing because I like to project the emotions that I feel, and I enjoy when the people understand what is coming through my voice and my personality and what I read. It's very interesting. The music and the singing is such kind of special thing. I wish, and I am sure that the people will find a very interesting opera. It's very, very well structured. The structures of also theatrical structure is well done, and I think they will confront one history very actual. And I think many times the people think that the opera is something out of the reality.
Well, I would say probably the last minute of the last recording session, when we realised that we have committed this remarkable piece completely to a modern recording. That's tremendously gratifying. That obviously is our goal at 8:59 p.m. before our last recording session finishes at 9 o'clock on Saturday, to know that we've captured it and to know that we can create what I hope will be a really remarkable legacy of the recording, but also to inspire other opera organisation, other opera houses to look at this piece and to consider including it in their repertoire.
For do this kind of operas, you have to do in record. There's not another way.
Very important work, and I think is the best thing in this moment, because all people, all composers of this time maybe want to invent a new thing, but rediscover these operas from the past is very important, because we can continue to learn from the past. And the work of Opera Rara is, I think, it's so precious.
I just love that the audience comes fresh to an opera rara experience. Certainly we understand sort of the soundscape. We've listened to Bellini, maybe we have, Bellini operas, Rossini operas. So we come with a sense of what we'll hear, but no absolutes. No one's heard a recording, no one, you get to hear something fresh, and I think something old made new in a way, and I think that's such a unique experience.
I hope that in hearing this great and grand Italian opera, that in between the moments where the audience recognizes familiar sounds to Verdi or Bellini, they get a sense of Mercadante's sound. I found that in my discovery and playing the piano, playing the piece and discovering the vocal lines and the orchestration, or what I think the orchestration will sound like at the piano, that I had these moments where I thought, okay, this sounds like Bellini, or this sounds like this part of an opera. But then after really digging into the whole thing, I got a sense of Mercadante's sound. And so I hope that the audience will also enjoy their introduction to a familiar yet unique style.
I would be happy if at the end of the evening the audience will go out with a smile. I mean, it's a tragedy, Malvina dies at the end, but to be able to be part of something that is brought back to life, if they enjoyed it, I think this is the best thing for me.
Sì,